good evening, dear viewers. Welcome to the English News Bulletin here on Rwanda Television. We believe you had a good day. Now let's kick off with the headlines. President Kagame has received Elder David Bednar of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints and his delegation. Rwanda is requesting over 50 million euros in compensation after the United Kingdom unilaterally breached the Migration and Economic Development Partnership deal. My name is Olivia, and it's always a pleasure to have you on board. Now let's kick off today's edition. This afternoon at Rugwiro Village, President Paul Kagame received Elder David Bednar of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and his delegation during their visit to Rwanda. They discussed shared values of service to communities with a focus on education and socio-economic development. Moving ahead, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints says it is strengthening its partnerships with the Ministry of Education to empower young people with skills that help them create their own jobs. William Evans has the details.
Providing support to vulnerable families, contributing to development initiatives, and helping young people access education are among the activities carried out by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Ndahimana Fordis, who oversees the church's branches in Rwanda, says the mission also focuses on equipping Rwandans with skills to overcome poverty. The church does not teach faith alone because Christians also be encountering several different day-to-day challenges, including poverty and others that could deter them from listening to the Word of God. Therefore, we have several programs that complement the Word of God, which we teach, including humanitarian services, schools, and supporting people out of poverty. The church says that it also supports students to pursue higher education through the BYU Pathway Worldwide program in the United States, offering courses delivered through digital platforms.
People need not only to learn the gospel, but then to also be able to learn to become self-reliant. That's why we have this BYU Pathway Program Connect, and then also we have other programs such as seeing how they could become well placed in society and be able to work and a living. It's not only about the gospel, but it's also about their own temporal and physical well-being. So our mission is to help people come unto Christ, but equally to be perfected in Him.
In addition, the church works with international organizations and community development initiatives.
Catalyzing economic development, promoting interfaith cooperation, enabling education, improving health, and delivering emergency aid. We have been working in Rwanda for, I will say, maybe 7 years. And we have done pretty much all these kind of projects, as we were discussing before.
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints says that such collaborations demonstrate how faith-based organizations can contribute to national development through practical actions that improve livelihoods, including the construction of classrooms in partnership with the Ministry of Education.
Now moving ahead, this afternoon the Prime Minister Nsengiyumva received a delegation from the Silk Road Fund, a Chinese investment fund led by its chairwoman Zhu Jun. Discussions focused on investment opportunities for the fund in several sectors, including health, energy, education, and agriculture. To more news, the Foreign Minister Senator, the Honorable Kamina Smith, on Tuesday received copy letters of credence and recall from High Commissioner Designate of the Republic of Rwanda to Jamaica, Mr. Martin Goga, who is among the latest heads of mission accredited to the island in recent days. In welcoming the High Commissioner Designate, Minister Johnson Smith reiterated Jamaica's deep appreciation to the government of the Republic of Rwanda for its support following the passage of Hurricane Melissa in October 2025, including the donation of millions of dollars in support of recovery efforts. And a further expression of solidarity, Rwanda also deployed a 101-member contingent of military engineers to assist the Jamaican Defense Force with the rehabilitation of damaged infrastructure. Moving ahead, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General Emmanuel Ugirashebuja told an international arbitration tribunal that the government of the United Kingdom deliberately breached an agreement on the migration development deal, despite Rwanda having completed all necessary preparations to implement the deal. Adam Squizera has the details.
The hearings take place before the Permanent Court of Arbitration in Hague, Netherlands. On the first day, the tribunal heard Rwanda's case, in which it accuses the UK of failing to honor the Migration and Economic Development Partnership Agreement. Dr. Ugirashebuja, the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General, began by emphasizing that the agreement aligns with the Rwanda's long-standing commitment to protecting refugees. He noted that Rwanda currently hosts more than 130,000 refugees. He also highlighted Rwanda's role in receiving students from Khartoum's University of Medical and Science Technology who fled conflict in Sudan, as well as Afghan girls who were denied access to education under the Taliban regime. He explained that it was after recognizing Rwanda's role in addressing refugee and migration challenges that the UK sought to establish a partnership with the country.
Once the partnership in April 2022 was announced, Rwanda proceeded to implement its commitments at pace. By way of illustration, Rwanda embarked upon significant constitutional, legislative, and administrative reforms to enable the implementation of the MEDP. It passed legislation, it created an appeals tribunal to hear asylum appeals under the Rwandan law, which still exists today. It created at least 12 ministerial and administrative structures to deal with the MEDP. Rwanda also prepared reception facilities for the incoming refugees and incurred significant costs in doing so.
The agreement also included the financial provisions, which are the Economic Transformation and Integration Fund for sustainable and inclusive economic growth within Rwanda, and to improve the conditions of existing refugee population and host communities. However, following a change of the government in the UK in July 2024, the new Prime Minister publicly declared that Rwanda migration scheme was dead and buried. Rwanda says it learned of this decision through media reports rather than through official diplomatic channels. At this point, Dr. Ugirashebuja stressed that despite the development, Rwanda continued to fulfill its obligations under the agreement, while the UK failed to do so.
The payment of the ETIF fund is not the only obligation that the United Kingdom has sought to avoid after its change of government. The United Kingdom has also sought to avoid the resettlement of vulnerable refugees from Rwanda under Article 19 of the MEDP. In March 2025, Rwanda invited the Joint Committee comprised of Rwanda and British representatives to urgently finalize arrangements for the resettlement of refugees in the United Kingdom, noting that the United Kingdom had failed to take action to fulfill its obligations. As the tribunal will see, the United Kingdom response was to refer to its intended termination of the agreement, making it clear that it was going to take no steps to perform any of its obligations in view of its intentions. This, Rwanda submits, was a clear refusal to take steps to negotiate the resettlement of refugees under the agreement. It could not have been anything else, we believe. Rwanda seeks a modest sum in compensation for the breach of Article 19, which will be less than 10% of the UNHCR's budget for Rwanda for 1 year alone.
The tribunal had allocated the first day for Rwanda to open submission of its case, while the UK is expected to do so tomorrow on Thursday. In January 2026, the government of Rwanda, represented by its Attorney General, Dr. Emmanuel Ugirashebuja, filed the case against the UK, seeking compensation of more than £50 million over the migrant deal that was halted unilaterally. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
First,
Now, entrepreneurs who have invested in textile and garment manufacturing agreed with representatives from various government institutions to collaborate in establishing a shared factory that will produce fabrics they normally import at high cost, which in turn makes the clothes they produce expensive. Enora Gladys reports.
At Kigali Convention Center, Sarah Keza sells clothing made in Rwanda, known as Made in Rwanda. Her main customers are often foreigners attending the many conferences held there, as well as guests staying at the Radisson Blu Hotel.
The people that buy our items are usually foreigners from Africa, foreigners from Europe, America, not typically Rwandan people. The usual feedback is quality is very good. They will often say that it's cheaper, even though Rwandan people will say that it's more expensive, but to them, when they buy here, they'll say it's cheaper. They like the quality, they like the artistic side. Again, they'll say it's good quality, they love the colors, the patterns, and everything.
In the same building, entrepreneurs who own textile and garment manufacturing industries met with senior officials from institutions and ministries to explore ways of further investing in the textile processing sector. One of the key challenges they highlighted is that between 50% and 70% of their capital is spent on importing raw materials used in producing these clothes. They believe they need collaboration with the government to establish a shared factory that can produce the fabrics they currently import from abroad.
One of the focus and the strategy we have agreed is that to set up a fully integrated textile factory, which can give advantages in availability of raw materials locally, but also promote export in the region and in the continental market. It is a requirement that if you are to export in the region and the continental market, there's a certain minimum value you should have added on your product. The minimum is 35% plus. So, and the higher you do it, the more margins you make.
This initiative is also expected to help create over 300,000 jobs within 5 years after the factory is established. In 2024, the total value of raw materials imported by players in the textile manufacturing sector amounted to $150,000 for 27,144 tons imported. The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Antoine Kajangwe, said that the proposal to establish the factory will be reviewed and implemented. The Chief Executive Officer of Rwanda Development Board, Jean-Guy Africa, highlights that the proposal to establish the factory will be reviewed and implemented.
Suggestion to establish a special economic zone for the textile and garment sector as a way to cluster the industries operating in the sector and be able to provide integrated infrastructure, integrated services. It's a proposal that we very much welcome, that we will study together with the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of Finance, the Private Sector Federation, the representatives of the textile and garment industry, and come back to the table with a proposal. But otherwise, we welcome the proposal. It was already within our plans, and we will look for ways that we can respond to it as quickly as possible.
It was proposed that no government institution should import staff uniforms from abroad unless it is clearly demonstrated that the required items cannot be produced locally. Financial institutions in Rwanda currently provide short-term loans to those in the garment manufacturing sector at interest rates ranging between 15% and 20%. However, they are requesting long-term loans of 15 to 20 years with interest rates below 10%. Only 5% of their market is in Rwanda, with the majority of their products exported to Africa and Europe.
Now to health-related matters, the Ministry of Health, in partnership with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, an international organization focused on preventing new HIV infections and caring for people living with HIV, has officially launched the expansion of Kagugu Health Center. The project involves constructing new buildings that will provide advanced services beyond those previously offered, including HIV-related care and youth-friendly services. William Evans has the report.
Stone was laid at the health center located in Gasabo district. Once completed, the upgraded facility is expected to significantly improve access to quality health care for more than 160,000 residents, primarily from Kagugu and Chinyinya sectors, according to the facility's director. the president and co-founder of AHF, expressed appreciation for the partnership with Rwanda, commending the country as a continental leader in HIV prevention and control efforts.
Number one factor in Rwanda has been that they have insisted upon collaboration. We don't have competing efforts, we have cooperating efforts. And that's very much the philosophy of AHF. We always came in to work with the government, we work with the community. I think that's the big success story of Rwanda. But also, Rwanda has sensitized people, the healthcare staff, and the population as a whole, so that it's kept the stigma level low, right? And it's recognized the fact that there are very many people living with HIV in Rwanda. They're part of families, they're part of the community, and they need to be served. And because we want the burden of HIV not just on the individual but on the government to go down, so that there aren't more and more people that need to be served.
The Minister of Health also commended AHF's impactful contribution, noting that the organization operates in 11 districts across the country. They emphasized that this particular project is especially strategic in strengthening community-level healthcare delivery.
The project is about building a new facility which will serve as a point of care for different services in the Kagugu Health Center. So that is a good contribution to that pillar one, which is modernization of health infrastructure. The second priority is to improve the quality of health care in Rwanda, and by building this new house, we hope that the quality of care delivered to the population will improve as well. And finally, we think that this project goes along with the well-being of our health care providers. And HF has been contributing to the recruitment of a number of health professionals, which is a good contribution to the priorities of the health sector.
The new facility, valued at 600 million Rwandan francs, is scheduled for completion by the end of October this year. Construction works commenced in January.
Now, research findings from the Vanguard Economics reveal that girls and women in Rwanda spend a disproportionate amount of time on unpaid work, limiting their personal development and reducing their contribution to national economic growth compared to men. The organization convened stakeholders from various sectors to discuss practical solutions to address the challenge of unpaid care and domestic work. We have details.
Unpaid workforce refers to tasks performed within households or families that are essential for the well-being but not generate income for those who perform them. In Rwanda, this type of work is predominantly carried out by women and girls, often consuming a significant portion of their time and restricting their ability to engage in income-generating or other empowering activities. According to the Institution of Policy Analysis and Research Rwanda, this imbalance needs urgent attention and policy intervention. During discussions organized by Vanguard Economics, it was highlighted that the government, in collaboration with various partners, is actively working to address barriers that hinder women's advancement, with the goal of ensuring their meaningful participation in national development. This was emphasized by Tess Kazuba, a project coordinator at UN Women.
We believe that if we are talking about sustainable development, we are thinking about all members of the family. And women, as you said, before they were meant to stay home, but nowadays you can see that the market obliged them to go and also find money to bring and food to bring on the table. So we are then thinking that it cannot work if the whole burden is on one person. Actually, not the whole, but the big part of the pie is on their shoulders. So there should be measures to make sure that they are also enjoying rights that others are enjoying. So it is therefore very important to make sure that if we are thinking about their development, we are thinking about the ecosystem around them, the facilities. Let them be exposed to education, to new platforms where they are gaining more in terms of their capacity, intellectual capacity. Let them emotionally felt feel that they are really understood. So I strongly believe that it's important for them to be on the table, to be part of the agenda, because they need that equal treatment. So in terms of care now, when we are talking about care, we believe that as much as we are developing as a country, we also need to shift our norms and make sure that children that are nurtured by a woman are also benefiting the presence of a father in a home. If they are to benefit their father, they need his presence, for example. And the woman who is supposed to do that can benefit that time to use to go for school, to go for sports, for her wellness, and many others. And for the country, it is also important to know that, because the planning around that, facilities, infrastructure, let me say subsidizing clean cooking, water harvesting methods, and many more can be also be catered for. So there is a lot that needs to be done to have the women, girls to be on the same platform as men and be ready to, to rally as others.
The research further indicates that in times of family hardships, girls are more adversely affected than boys. Findings from this study are now being used to inform sustainable interventions aimed at addressing these inequalities. Rwanda's revised family law recognizes the value of unpaid domestic work as a critical pillar in building household wealth. It challenges long-standing perceptions that tasks such as childcare, cooking, cleaning, and other unpaid responsibilities lack economic value, affirming their importance in both family welfare and the broader economy.
Moving ahead, the Ministry of Trade and Industry has urged consumers to understand their rights to receive quality goods delivered on time. When this is not the case, they are encouraged to report to the relevant authorities for assistance in resolving such issues. William Evans continues.
Being misled and deceived through false product information, as well as shortages of certain goods on the market, leading to price hikes, are among the key challenges consumers continue to highlight. Another challenge many consumers have relates to quality. Once one buys goods of inferior quality, what process does they go through before it can be replaced? 5 years ago, Rwanda established the Rwanda Inspectorate Competition and Consumer Protection Authority, which is tasked with ensuring product standards, fair competition, and consumer protection. The institution says cases of consumer rights violations still exist in markets, including unfair pricing and other complaints reported by consumers, which are then addressed with its support.
Once consumer will know their rights and be able to stand up for their rights, it will make it simple, it will make it easy, because traders or business people will remain with no option but only to comply. So among the challenges that we see on the market is misleading information, which people do in processes of labeling of their products. Some people use misleading information just to attract the buyer without being mindful of what the law requires of them to give the right information. Consumer bring to us the complaint. We request them for evidence to support or to substantiate their complaint. And at this point, I want to emphasize the importance of having an invoice. When you paid your money, you need to have that invoice, because that serves as a contract between you and the trader. And it becomes the starting point for a regulatory body to start following up on your complaint. So we review the complaint. We do investigations where necessary by interviewing the trader involved in that complaint brought in by consumers, and we assess the complaint in light of the laws and regulations in place. We communicate to the trader where we find that the complaint is valid. We communicate to the trader the action to redress the consumer who has had a complaint. In some cases, when the trader failed to address as per the decision issued by the regulatory body, the case is escalated to other authorities as law requires.
As Rwanda joins the rest of the world to mark World Consumer Rights Day, emphasis has been placed on product safety and quality as a key factor in building consumer trust in the market. The Minister of Trade and Industry, Prudence Sebahizi, says the government has put in place various mechanisms to monitor product standards, ensuring the safety of Rwandans who use them.
Rwanda, as a country, we are standing very well in terms of policy framework. We have Rwanda Competition and Consumer Protection Policy. We also have Rwanda Consumer and Competition Law, which has been passed early this year. At the same time, we have institutions that will ensure the enforcement of both the policy and the law. We have RICA, we have Rwanda FDA, we have Rwanda Standard Board, we have the National Bank of Rwanda on the financial services, and we have RURA for utilities. So I can say that we stand very well in terms of policy framework, legal framework, and institutional framework. And in addition to that, Rwanda has taken seriously what we call service delivery. The quality of the service that we provide to the consumers, whether by government institutions or private sector, is a priority for the country. The message to the consumers is to stand for their rights. The service that we receive as consumers, all of us included, is not that we should beg for it. It is our right. So the information should be transparent. We should have access to information. The product should meet the quality standard, and the time of receiving the service or time of delivery should be respected.
At the beginning of 2026, a new law on competition and consumer protection was adopted. It introduces new provisions addressing digital trade and other emerging areas aimed at strengthening consumer rights over the goods and services they purchase.
Now, experts in fields related to science and technology are pushing for the increase in the number of women and girls in sciences on the African continent following their low representation that slows down Africa's development. Nora Gladys has the details.
Rita Inema Owizeye is one of the young women who developed an application that helps address mental health challenges using music and art. She says that girls working in this field often face various challenges.
Women in STEM, it's more of low self-esteem. Sometimes we feel like we cannot do it, and even the people around us think that I know it's very hard and you cannot make it and what. So the discouragement in the environment, especially due to the historical background, the cultural factors, many women are not yet open to STEM. But I can say that through these opportunities that have been presented to us, it is now time for us to open our minds and know that we can also do that. Would encourage the women who still fear going in STEM, maybe because they think it's for a certain category of people. Now it's open for anyone. Everyone can access technology and use it in a way that is beneficial to them. Based on where the world is leading, technology is the leading factor. So as women, as girls, it is an opportunity for us to grow in that sector in order to also catch up with where the world is going.
Organizations that promote the advancement of women in science indicate that women and girls involved in science in Africa make up less than 25%. However, they say this does not mean that they are not capable.
Surrounded by women in engineering, climate change, in the health sector, sustainable agriculture as well. So what shows you is that it's not a question of whether women have talent or if they are capable, but it's a question of equal opportunities. Is a STEM sector ready to take up women in this industry? So conferences such as the Women in STEM conference, it really empowers us. It shows us that we are not only capable, but that we can even do it better.
The Director General of the African Bureau in the World Intellectual Property Organization, who oversees 54 African countries, Loretta Asiedo, highlights that having a large number of women in science is very important.
It's an aspiration of the African Union that women and youth play a key role in the development of the continent, especially as it pertains to the 2063 agenda. So it is very important for our women to enhance their collaboration in STEM, because the future is innovation, the future is technology, the future is economics, the future is engineering, the future is math. And so women, being the backbone of the African economy, need to be empowered to participate more and more in STEM so that their innovations contribute to the development of our continent.
The acting chief licensing officer of the Rwanda Development Board, Richard Kayibanda, explains that measures have been put in place in Rwanda to increase the number of women and girls in the fields of science and technology.
Again, as the trend worldwide, but also across Africa, we still see a low number of women submitting applications to protect their innovation in terms of patents, utility models, and computer programs, where the average over the last 5 years is still below 7. But again, the number keeps increasing, though at a low pace, but with different initiatives such as this conference that is meant to raise their awareness about not only engaging in innovations, but also protecting those innovations. We hope and anticipate to see a number of applications from women increasing, because we do have women that are coming up with innovations.
The ambassador of Japan to Rwanda explained that much is expected from the African continent if the number of women in STEM increases.
Economic development, the strongest engine will be the startup forces. And all these are kind of new ideas, new innovations will help the society and will generate investment in and out of the country. And that is a kind of a really a new field of economic development. And women's, they are more, say, realistic in their mind, practical in their activities, and stronger in their mindset.
Keiko Kurushima, who represented the Japan IP office that sponsored this conference and the STEM activities, explained the main reason they chose to support it.
I think it's important to support this initiative, Women in STEM conference, because women has a power to change their lives by contributing to the innovation and creation, and women have high potential power. On the contrary, some women is far from IP, but IP has a powerful tool to change their lives. So our mission is to bridge the gap between them.
The Rwanda Development Board shows that out of 430 projects registered in science and technology, those led by women account for less than 7% in Rwanda, while across the entire African continent, women in the field of science and technology are below 25%.
Now this story marks the end of tonight's bulletin. Thank you so much, dear viewers, for staying with us throughout the edition. Wish you a great night.